exit strategy, so is that a requirement to get rid of your company eventually?
Pretty much so, eventually.
Okay.
Some of us locally, we know a gentleman by the name of Phil Hodges who ran Metrics, and Phil sold it after 19 years. And I asked Phil one day, I said, how long have you been trying to sell it? He said, since day one. And so he said, unfortunately, it took me 19 years, but fortunately, he made a very successful and lucrative opportunity after 19 years. And I go back to what I hear Paul say. I can hear Phil tell that story. Within the first 12 months, he tapped his credit card limit twice to ensure he paid payroll for those, twice out of that 12-month period. So yeah, everybody sees the success, but it's a lot of early heartaches, and to get to that point as well.
What percentage of the whole thing is the idea? How important is the idea? And Paul, if you want to take, how important is the idea in starting the venture?
Well, I think that's what drives everything, makes everything go. I think the question I have is, if you have a really great idea, and I mean, I haven't had to go out and offer up some of my equity to drive the investment, but how do you make that decision? How much of my great idea am I going to let other people jump on? How do you balance that?
Gut feel. It's hard. That's so true. I mean, what equity position do you really want to give up? And some people, I see this quite often, as we say, they can't let go of their baby. I mean, they built it from the ground up, and they don't want anyone else close enough to be that CEO management team. And when you talk about exit strategy, they're like, do I really want to exit with it? So that's a lot of questions you have to ask yourself as well.
From the investor side, it's not necessarily what the percentage is. They're looking at, what's this exit going to be? So if you put in $1 million, you're looking to get 10 or 20 times your investment out here. And so they're looking at how big this company can grow, and then working back, and if 30% will give them a good enough return, that'll be fine with them. 40%, I mean, they're going to try and get as much as they can. But at the end of the day, it's kind of a complicated equation. And especially the earlier you are, the less there is that's known. I mean, it's more art. The earlier you get, it's more art than science. And at that point, it just becomes sort of what other deals look like that are similar to yours.
What valuations are you seeing in companies?
Could I go back and be contrarian for a minute?
Sure.
So the idea, we were talking about the idea.
Yeah.
And in certain companies, in certain industries, it's a drug, for example. It's all about the intellectual property. In other businesses, let me tell you, there's a lot of smart people in the world. A lot of smart people. And if you've got some sort of software internet-ish idea, somebody else probably has it, okay? And so it's all about execution. And the strategy and executing on it faster than someone, better than someone. There's a lot of similar ideas out there. So I'll just say that.
Yeah.
I can't remember at all what you asked.
So originally I'd asked how important is the idea?
Well, no, that one, but then
Yeah.
the question that I diverted.
And so what you're saying is not just the idea, but also your management team is extremely important, and maybe experience in the industry, doing something before?
Yes, and that always helps. That always helps, I think, as investors are looking at a deal. If somebody's had a previous exit, it's going to be really easy for them to raise money. But everybody was a first-time entrepreneur at one time. And so you can make up for that with a lot of knowledge, skill, chutzpah, drive.
And the